I want to talk to you first about a couple of comments you were making earlier this morning here at WEF. You obviously are somebody who is very deeply sourced in Washington. You have long, deep connections there. And your sense of things right now is that the government shutdown will be over in a matter of days and that the trade talks with China will be resolved in a matter of months.
Of course, when you make a prediction, you're always subject to looking foolish if it doesn't come through. So I probably shouldn't have been so precise. But here's my view. The members of Congress and the people in the administration know that this is hurting the economy, the shutdown, and they really want to resolve this. And I think there's a real resolve to get it resolved very quickly. So it could be more than a few days. It could be very soon, but it's not going to go on for a month or so, in my view.
On the government shutdown, in particular, before we move on to the trade talks, is that because both sides are going to be willing to reach some sort of a compromise?
Both sides recognize this is not in the country's interest. Both sides recognize that something has to be done, and there's going to be much political backlash against both sides if something isn't done soon. That's the general sense that people in Congress have, people in the White House have as well.
What do you think that give looks like on either side?
It could be many different things. One idea that I've had, but of course my idea isn't going to get anywhere probably, is you do what you normally do in these situations. Appoint a presidential commission to study it. Get a Democrat who has Homeland Security experience, get a Republican who has Homeland Security experience, get them together, ask them to come back in 75 days with some recommendation on what to do.
And you keep the government closed that whole time?
No, you keep it open that time. That would be an idea.
Yeah.
And that's one possibility. You could also say Congress will pass legislation, the president won't like it, he won't sign it, but it'll still go into law. Under the Constitution, the president doesn't have to sign legislation, it can still go into law.
Oh, he just doesn't veto it?
He doesn't veto it. It still goes into law in 10 days.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, that's in the Constitution. So you could do that as well. The president can say, I don't support this legislation, I'm not going to sign it, but I'll let it go into law. 75 days later, we'll have a report. That's possible. Now, nobody is certain that what's going to happen, but I just think something will happen relatively soon. I think it'd be good for the country.
Has that ever happened before? It's in the Constitution, but has that
ever happened? I worked in the Carter administration. One time, President Carter didn't like one of the bills, but he didn't sign it, but it went into law. And I think other presidents have done that before. It's right in the Constitution.
Huh. What about back to the idea of these trade talks with China? Where and how do you think we get to some sort of resolution?
I think initially the Chinese weren't sure that President Trump really meant what he said about being tough on trade, because he was very polite to Xi Jinping. They now realize, in my view, that he's very serious about this. And they also realize this, that if he were to depart tomorrow, there is somebody behind him who supports the same views. In other words, his views are probably the views of 40% or 45% of American people. So they realize that if the Trump goes away tomorrow, they're still going to have to deal with somebody in his place who will have the same views. So they want to get this resolved because it has to get done by somebody or with somebody. So they want to get it resolved. They just want to make sure they know what the Americans really want. Americans have not been certain exactly what they want. Now I think they have one person as the point person on the negotiations. I think that's going to be very helpful.